We are talking about August Borden, a 15-year-old teen who was severely injured at his high school. A Tuscumbia father wants to know what happened to his 15-year-old son and said he's quickly losing trust in his community school system and the police department as he waits for answers. Jason Borden said he heard conflicting reports about what led to his son August Borden's brain injuries that required him to be airlifted from Deschler High School to UAB Hospital on August 19th. The freshman football player was walking to football practice after school when he suffered major head trauma. Once at the hospital ICU, the teen was treated for a fractured skull, 2 broken orbital sockets, and more. Jason said he didn't receive a call from the school or emergency responders when this happened. He just heard from August's stepfather to hurry up and drive to Birmingham. I get to the hospital, I see the gruesome scene that you've seen, and my heart instantly drops. Terrified, Jason said through tears. This is the first time that I've ever looked at my little boy and not been able to speak to him. And it's just like, it's heartbreaking, right? Because he could die. And what happened? I'm just in panic mode. That moment prompted August's family to begin a mission to see what led to the boy being unconscious and covered in blood on a hospital bed. Jason said he called August's football coach, who told him his son was involved in a scuffle with another student. Later statements from the school contradicted this, Jason said. The school worded this in a way that makes it sound like it's just a one-child accident, like some goofy kid walking and tripping on his shoelaces and fell and hit his head and rolled down some stairs. That was the public's perception. Jason's next call was to Tuscumbia City Schools Director of Student Services, Brian Murner, who shared the details about the alleged incident. Brian told Jason that there was a scuffle when a student picked up August and squeezed him so tight that he started to convulse and then dropped him. At least 2 faculty members allegedly witnessed the incident, Jason said. Jason said school officials told him the student's identity, but he will not disclose it to the press. Now you guys have to do something, right? Jason said. Where is this kid? Why has he not been arrested yet? Because that's by legal definition the injuries that August sustained are first-degree assault battery, which comes with the felony charge. But that's not happening, so next up, right? He reached out to the school leaders, including Tuscumbia School Superintendent Russ Tate, to keep him updated on the case. Ross allegedly told him it was top priority, but Jason said he didn't hear from him after that. 3 days after the incident, on August 22nd, Jason took matters into his own hands. He went to the Tuscumbia Police Department to file a police report. He spoke to the officer who responded to the incident, who said he had talked to the people at the school and did not write a report. Just a kid fell down. Case closed, Jason said. Jason turned in a full written statement, a flash drive of recorded phone calls with Murner and August's football coach, and photos of his son's injuries. He knows they want to hear August's perspective, but there's a problem. His son doesn't remember what happened. Jason says the investigation shouldn't hinge on the victim's testimony. Let's say worst case scenario that August died that day, and he couldn't speak up, Jason said. Does that mean that the entire case would just gone away? It doesn't matter that I have evidence that someone did this. If August couldn't speak for himself, then the case just gets thrown out. That sounds weird, right? That's a hole in their logic, right? Jason said school officials told him there was no camera footage of the incident, which allegedly happened outside of the school on the concrete between the main campus and Howard Chappell Stadium. In a statement Monday, Tuscumbia Mayor William Foster said the police department is investigating the case. We understand there are many questions and concerns being shared, and we want to assure you that this matter is being taken very seriously. The police department said in an August 23rd statement, our investigators are actively reviewing all available information and evidence. Because this is an ongoing investigation, specific details cannot be released at this time. Please know our priority is to ensure a thorough and fair process while protecting the privacy and well being of those involved. Tuscumbia School System Superintendent Russ Tate told the news he is cooperating with the police. Due to the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act guidelines, we are not allowed to discuss information pertaining to minors. Our goal is to aid the Tuscumbia Police Department and not hinder their investigation. Tuscumbia Police Chief Tony Logan will likely bring in Colbert County deputies to investigate the incident to eliminate any conflicts of interest. Police Chief Logan also told the Times Daily the doctor said August's injuries were inconsistent with a fall. Jason still has not heard from Deschler High School Principal Jessica. She still never responded to my email. She never given me the decency of a 30-second call to offer her apologies for what happened to August. They went on to play a football game on Friday night. Even though August was a football player there, and technically still is, they didn't make any mention of him. The school is offering counseling services to students while August recovers at home. Jason said his son is slowly getting better, but as a father, he had a difficult time trusting the school officials. At least 2 faculty members allegedly witnessed the incident. You promised that you would put their safety and well-being before all else. And when you don't, and you try to cover it up, and you try to say things that happened that didn't really happen, what kind of trust does that create? Because to me, you're not just affecting me in August. That entire school system is now broken. You have no trust because those children who go there now, the fairy tale that they go to this school where they all are a big family, a big tight-knit community, is broken. Jason said they are raising money to cover medical expenses, secure legal representation, and support the road to recovery. That school is definitely covering up what happened. And the teen who did that to August should be charged as an adult, because he almost took his life. Kids, teens, they are not safe in public schools. Let's hope and pray that August gets back to his old self and feels better soon.
Borden. This is August's father. Jason, thank you so much for coming on. I am so sorry for what August is going through, for what you're going through, what the family is going through. I know this is an incredibly difficult time. It's not easy talking about this, but we obviously have a lot of questions about what's going on. First question, how's August doing?
Yeah, and thank you for having me on. It's very important that we get this message out. And I know that we've been, all over the news. It's wild just in a couple of days how it's gone from a couple of Facebook posts to actually a global reach now, which is just insane, the amount of growth. But, as far as August goes, he's doing okay. I think that, overall, he's going to have a lot of long-term trauma to deal with. The good news is that from a brain standpoint, seems to be making a recovery. He did suffer a concussion, but they're not seeing any signs of anything that was going to cause any kind of long-term trauma to the brain, which is great. That's hard to say because we don't, the brain's a funky thing. You don't know what's going to happen 20 years from now whenever things pop up.
What does that road to recovery look like? Does it require what kind of, certain treatment? I mean, surgeries? Is he going to make it back to school in the next few months? I mean, have they given you an idea about what he should expect?
Yeah. So, there are going to be a lot of follow-up appointments. We've got a ton of different specialists out there that we've got to go see within the coming months. We've got appointments set up about his face because remember, right now he has a fractured skull. Still has 2 broken orbital bones beneath his eye sockets. And then there's just going to be some long-term stuff that he's got to deal with about his brain. Like, it's great they let us go from the hospital because they said, as far as we can tell, everything looks okay, that we feel well enough to release him back into your care. But there's still going to be a ton of follow-up appointments with neurologists for a very long time.
It's awful. How are you and the family doing through all this?
We're hanging in there. I mean, we're remembering and having to remind ourselves that this is about August. But I'd be lying if I said that we're not frustrated. We're angry. We want some answers.
And that's what I wanted to get. I wanted to talk about particularly in this case. So, first of all, to be clear, has August been able to tell you or law enforcement what happened? Has he even been interviewed by law enforcement at this point?
No, he's not been interviewed by law enforcement at this point. We've asked August on our own, and he's telling us that he doesn't remember anything. And I have no reason to doubt that. The law enforcement currently, their spin is that they want to talk to August, and they can't really move forward until they talk to August. And that sounds a little weird to me because let's just imagine that hypothetically, I don't study law, I don't understand all that, but just tell me this. Let's just say, worst case scenario, that August didn't pull through, that he actually died there on that sidewalk that afternoon. Would the entire case just be completely thrown out if August was unable to talk to law enforcement? That the firsthand eyewitnesses that they have, the names that they have, would all that go away just because August wasn't there to defend himself?
No, the answer is no. They would investigate it clearly but obviously when you have, and thankfully we're not in that situation, when you have a surviving victim in this case, that account, it becomes, tantamount. But clearly they can move forward with investigating, even without his statement, which actually makes me wonder, have they given you any indication that they've interviewed witnesses, that they've retrieved maybe surveillance footage, cell phone footage? Have they given you any indication about what they're doing right now?
No, they've not. They've given us, we asked. I know that Drew, August's stepfather, was on the phone with the lead investigator yesterday afternoon. August's stepfather said, how's everything going with the investigation? He said, well, we're just kind of, it's a long, drawn out process. It's going to take a long time, which seems to be common in these kind of scenarios. It's not that it necessarily has to take a long time, but I think that that's a tactic that they use to draw things out. One thing that was bizarre, because if you don't know, this has never been a whodunit case. We knew within 3 hours of the fall of the accident exactly what happened and exactly who did it. School officials told us, and I have it recorded on audio. We know exactly who did it. And we asked, Drew asked that lead investigator yesterday, have you talked to student X, we'll say? And they said, who? And he said, student X, the one that we've told you, the one that everyone on social media is telling you is exactly who was responsible for this. And they said, no, we haven't spoken to him yet. Now, remember, today is day 9 now since the accident happened. They've had this for 9 days and still haven't spoken to this student X. When Drew said why, he said, well, Drew, it's a complicated situation.
Let's clarify this for a second. So
Sure.
This idea of him falling down the stairs or anything like that, for our viewers who don't know, why are you saying that doesn't make sense? I mentioned before about the location of where August was found. And just to be clear, you're saying the evidence that you've seen right now suggests there was some sort of altercation with a student, and that's what escalated and led to August's injuries?
Absolutely. We knew that from the very beginning. When I arrived in the hospital and saw my son laying there like that for the first time ever, my 15-year-old baby boy, not being able to communicate with him, I got angry and I wanted answers. And I know how things work. I know how people's minds work, that they want, you can't give them time to cooperate on a story. I want answers immediately. So we start dialing phone numbers. The very first phone call that I make, this is less than 3 hours after the incident happened, I was told that there was August and another student. They got into some kind of scuffle. We don't really understand what happened, that this kid picked him up from behind and had him like in a tight squeeze and heard him gasp. And then August hit the ground, assuming, that he's up in the air, that he fell and hit the ground. After that, I made a call to another school official and just, hey, here's what I know already. This is what just told me. So what else happened? Tell me more. This is the at that he told me. And absolutely. He told me, he said, hey, here's what we know. August, they were kind of teasing this kid. I don't know if I can say why. I think it's all out there. People have talked about this a lot, but ultimately they were just kind of teasing this kid about something at school. And the kid went up behind August. He singled him out. And apparently there were multiple students around at this time, fellow football players. He singled out August and told me that he picked him up from behind and squeezed him so tight that August started convulsing. Now, I don't know. Again, I'm not a medical professional, but I do have Google and I do understand that you can squeeze someone so tightly that in 7 to 10 seconds, your lungs can't produce enough oxygen to go to your brain. That will cause you to pass out. It will cause your body to tremble, to convulse, and appear like you've had a seizure or appear like you've just gone limp. But he told me that happened. And then this other kid, which he told me his name on that phone call, I don't know if he dropped him on the ground or purposely threw him on the ground. That part's a little unclear, but with the type of injuries that we're looking at, whether it was malicious or not, it's still, you almost took my son's life, and that's not okay.
Have you
Actors, we can make you believe we know what we're doing, when in fact, we do not. Whoops.
you had an opportunity to speak to anyone else about this besides any of the students spoken to you? Has anybody else corroborated what happened here?
Yeah, we're getting a lot of feedback. We set up just a private email address, justiceforaug@gmail.com. AUG is in like the shortened version of August, justiceforaug@gmail.com. We set that up yesterday afternoon, and I've had probably 20 to 30 emails coming in from students. We told them, hey, if you're scared, just create a fake email address. Just let us know what happened. And I can tell you that skimming through those emails, the story is exactly the same amongst dozens of people.
A couple of things here. Did August, was he able to tell you the last thing that he does remember? And has he ever had any conflicts with anyone in this school, particularly this student that you're mentioning?
Yeah, no, August hasn't told me. I think that from what we've gathered so far, that he remembers being at school, he remembers doing his weightlifting, and then everything right now is kind of a blur. And then he remembers being in the hospital on Thursday, 24 or 48 hours later. So, and that's another thing with brain injuries. That's a very traumatic experience. He may remember, maybe tomorrow morning he wakes up and says, oh my gosh, I remember everything. That could happen. It may not. But, as far as that goes, we don't really know.
When you're seeing these comments, these public statements from the police and the school district and the mayor, what do you make of them?
Well, I will tell you this. I feel when I went on Friday morning, and this is all over. I did another podcast that you can hear where I went into great detail for an hour about the timeline of those first 72 hours. But I went to the school and said, hey, I need a full investigation. I want full transparency. I want to know exactly what happened. I want written statements. And they said, yes, we're going to keep you in the loop. You're going to know everything that's going on as soon as we do. This is from the school superintendent. And by Friday morning, I still hadn't got any response back, which, by the way, the school principal still to this day has never called and apologized to me. She's never responded to my emails. But after that, I went to the police station on Friday morning and I said, hey, I'm here to file a police report and I want to press charges for assault and battery. The cop that I spoke to, he told me, hey, I'm very aware of the situation. I was actually the first person that arrived on the scene. He said, whenever I was there, though, what do you mean you want to press charges for assault and battery? Because we were just told it was just a kid that fell down. He said, I went around and asked a couple of people at the school. I don't know if he was there for an hour or 15 minutes, but everyone's story was kind of the same, that it was just, hey, we don't really know. A kid just fell down and tripped and hit his head. He told me at that moment that because of that, he never filed a police report that day. It was just an accident, right? So when I told him and gave him this information, I put everything, those phone calls that I told you about, where I have a full firsthand breakdown, which, by the way, let me back up, did tell me twice now that there were 2 school employees, 2 faculty members, 2 coaches that were standing 10 feet away when this all happened that witnessed everything. Why their testament isn't important enough to go forward with the case, I'm not really sure.
This new information that you have, you brought it to police, right? Like
Absolutely.
And what happened?
I gave them an 8 GB flash drive that had all those phone calls with the name, everything on it. And they said, great, we'll be in touch with you. They actually took me to the school because this cop said, we thought this was just an accident, but this sounds like there's a lot more to it. Let's go down to the school together. Very nice guy. He took me to the school. We went into the SRO office where they keep all the cameras, not all the cameras themselves, but obviously like all the footage is there, right? And, he asked, where's the footage? And the SRO, which you would assume is like the first place that you would go if there's some sort of case that needs to be looked into involving a student incident, like they should be involved, in my opinion. I think that that's probably a common thing because even the cop chose to go there first, right?
Right.
He had no idea that there was anything going on other than August fell and hit his head. So this is the first time the SRO, this is now Friday morning, and this incident happened on Tuesday afternoon. This is the first time the SRO is even aware that anything else is going on other than the kid just fell and hit his head. That tells me that that superintendent never followed through. He told me he was opening an investigation. He told me they were going to look at the video, see if anything exists, but that didn't happen. So when I gave that cop that flash drive with all those calls, ultimately, just to fast forward a couple minutes, just yesterday, an article came out in their local newspaper that the police said that the father, talking about me, did go to them saying that I wanted to press charges for assault and battery, but unfortunately I didn't give them any evidence.
Huh.
Now I recorded, this will come out at some point. I recorded that conversation with that cop and I said, here's your flash drive. This has the phone calls. This has this naming exactly what happened and exactly what did it. And he said, yes, thank you. This is going to be very helpful for us. So tell me, how exactly did I not give them any evidence?
Did you reach back out to the reporter?
No, I haven't yet. I just found out about this last night. Just dumbfounded, you know?
This is, I wish I had an explanation for you. I really
Sure.
don't. Going back, the mayor was public with this as well and released a statement. Have you
Eventually, yeah.
Have you attempted to reach out to the mayor's office about this or in any way?
And no, I personally, I've been trying to do the right thing. We've given them time. I went to the school first. I followed the chain of command. I went to the school, asked for transparency. I went to the cops and asked for help. I'll tell you this, I just called that police station. They told me on Friday that my police report would be ready first thing this week, that I could just get a copy of it, just my written statement, right, from Friday afternoon when I was at the school. I just got off the phone with them right before I called you. I said, hey, I'm here. I'm calling because I need to get a copy of a police report. They never asked my name or anything. She put me on hold and came back and said, hey, sorry, we don't have a police report for you. And I said, but you don't even know who I am.
Yeah.
Isn't
What'd
that
you
weird?
say? And what'd they say?
They said, well, what's your name? I gave her my name. She said, yeah, we don't have a police report for you. And I said, well, I filed this on Friday. How long does a police report take? Because they set the expectation that would be ready by midweek today, which, I mean, it's Wednesday. In my opinion, that's midweek, right? She said, well, they've just, they have shifts they work and today is the first day that someone's back. And I said, so I'm not trying to be rude, but just explain to me, are you saying that like the cop that I spoke to, he's just been off for 5 days? She's like, no, it's just going to take some time. Okay. I understand there's a case, but an initial report, just my written statement, that should be done in a matter of minutes, right? Like if you go down to the police station and file a police report, that's pretty common scenario.
Well, based on what you're telling me, again, I don't have an explanation.
Sure.
This doesn't quite make sense to me. This is obviously getting more and more public. Okay, a lot of people are talking about this. People who are watching this, how can they help? How can the public help to get more information and answers for you and the family? What can they do?
We've got the audio. We know who it is. Why they're not doing that, why they're not taking that at face value, that's beyond me. I don't understand that part. But what you can do to help, number one, we care more about getting this justice for August now than anything. So, we set up that email address I mentioned earlier, justiceforaug@gmail.com. I'm looking for anything. I've gotten a lot of anonymous tips that all the story's exactly the same. But, we at this point, we need someone that's ready to step up and help us bring this to a close. I don't know if that's what the holdup is. These kids, they're scared. I'll tell you this, and I don't know this for fact. This is what another parent just told us yesterday. They said, hey, my kid was there when it happened. And get this, they said that this kid, now again, this is not fact, like this is just something that was told to me, right? This parent said that her kid witnessed everything and that the school rounded up the kids that were there and witnessed everything, brought them in the office and made them sign a form.
Huh.
I don't know what exactly the form is. I do know that a minor cannot sign an NDA without a parent or guardian present. So if these kids, we know this, we've got firsthand reports that the football players have been told that they are not allowed to speak on this at all. I've heard that the football players are kind of split down the middle right now with half of the team just wanting to win the games and that's all that matters. And half the team saying, dude, I don't want any part of this. Everybody in the whole school's mad at me now, and I didn't even do anything, right? So there's a lot of friction there, but we really need someone to just step up. And whether it's video, audio, anything that you got that we can take to the police to get this buttoned up, we're going to have to give them, just an overwhelming amount of evidence. And if the school's already admitted who did it and exactly what happened, if that's not evidence, I really don't know what else is.
Jason, before we wrap things up, because I know you have so much on your plate with this,
Sure.
have the parents of this particular student, have they said anything in general? Have they said anything to you? What can you tell us there?
Yeah, no, I don't know them. I don't know anything about them. I know the name that I was given, and that's it. They haven't reached out to me. They haven't reached out to August's mom and stepdad. So there's not much for that.
Well, listen, this is a really distressing story. Again, when I'm talking to you, I don't have, as I keep saying, I don't have answers for you. It doesn't make sense. This is very, very strange. I want to continue the conversation. We're going to keep our eye on it. We're going to see what develops. You have an open platform to come back on here to talk about it and see how August is doing. But I'm very happy to hear that he's going to be making a recovery, that you're getting this outpouring of love and support. I understand August is a very loved individual in that school, and clearly you have such strong love for him, and so does the family. So I guess, I think that's the important takeaway from this at the end of the day.